Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
2020. So it's the first week of January, and we are at the storage lot of our of our motorhome camper van. Unfortunately, the weather's not great, and Gordon is quite sick. He's got the flu, so we are not able to travel right now. But we wanted to do a quick recap of 2019 and some of the favorite places that we visited last year. We had some of our happiest moments in 2019, and we had some of our saddest moments in 2019. So it was quite a year, and we are kind of relieved to say that it's over.
If you followed our channel, you know we lost our cat Precious at the end of October. And then actually just as we approached, literally on Christmas Eve, my sister ended up in the hospital, and her daughter, my niece, passed away unexpectedly, unrelated events. So it was a very sad ending to 2019 for us. We're hoping 2020 is a much more pleasant year, and that everyone stays healthy and happy.
Yeah, hope you all had a good holiday season, and hope the new year started out well for you.
So in terms of our trips and where we like to go, certainly it's subjective. We tend to evaluate our spots by a couple of things. Usually it's access to hiking trails for us, and that can be actual trails or access to beaches close, either walkable or a short drive. That's probably the most important thing for us. So if we stay somewhere and the campground's okay, but there's some great hiking, that'll typically be a higher ranked spot for us. Same thing with weather. If the weather is really nice when we're visiting, we'll tend to enjoy, and it's kind of obvious, but we tend to enjoy the spot a lot more. If it was kind of cloudy and rainy, it probably didn't rate as one of our favorite spots, but certainly worthwhile going back and trying again another time. And actually in our list of spots, I think at least one was on our top spot from last year as a place that we love to go back and visit. So with that, I guess we can talk about our top spots for 2019.
We're going to count down the top 5, starting from number 5. So our number 5 pick is Jasper National Park. We were there this past late summer. One of the biggest factors of Jasper being on our list was that the drive on the Icefields Parkway between Banff and Jasper is just phenomenal. It was one of the nicest drives that we've ever had. The scenery was just spectacular. Unfortunately in Jasper, the weather was not great when we visited. We were there for about 4 days, and a couple of the days it was raining. And we did spend one day in Jasper doing some chores, so Jasper town, that is. So the town of Jasper is a great place for services. It has a lot of great dining and shops and coin laundry, and I think there's a couple of locations where you can do coin laundry, and we did our laundry there. It also has a nice rec center that has a gym, pool, and communal showers. There's actually about 10 campgrounds all within the national park, and currently 3 of them are reservable: Wapiti, Wabasso, and Pocahontas. And Wapiti and Wabasso are the closest to Jasper town, and there's one larger one called Whistler's, but that was actually closed when we were there, and apparently it's still closed for redevelopment, and that's the closest one to Jasper town. The place where we stayed, Pocahontas, is about maybe half an hour's drive from Jasper town north, and it was fine. It was nice. It was not our favorite. There were a lot of trees, and it was a little bit dark, and also the weather was a factor in making it seem a lot darker than it probably really was. The nice thing about Pocahontas is that it's on the same road that leads up to Miette Hot Springs, and that's where a nice trails start there for hiking. And one of the hikes that we really enjoyed was the Sulphur Skyline Trail. And also the Miette Hot Springs has a very nice cafe, souvenir store, and of course the hot springs, which we also enjoyed. So the second campground we stayed at Jasper was Honeymoon Lake. And Honeymoon Lake is again about half an hour, but this time south of Jasper town, and it's a very nice campground. It's next to the lake, but there aren't any views for most of the sites. I think just a couple of sites have views of the lake. It's a nice small lake, and it's good for a short paddle. If we had had a chance to do more epic hikes in Jasper, I think this park would have ranked a lot higher for us. We would definitely like to go back and do the Mount Edith Cavell hike, which we had to drive about half an hour off the road. And the only reason why we couldn't do that hike was because we got there a little bit too late and we couldn't find a parking spot. So definitely need to leave pretty early in the morning to get up there.
So one other thing just about the Jasper trip, I mean, I think it'd be worthwhile to go back and literally spend 4 or 5 days just on the parkway itself. There's a number of campsites all along there that would just be wonderful to stay at, and several hikes from there as well. So number 4 on our list was Riding on Stone Provincial Park in southern Alberta. Now, a couple things. The campground there, it kind of had a commercial feel. The campsites were kind of close together, although arguably we had one of I think we got the last campsite, so we didn't get necessarily a good choice. There's a small store to provide some supplies, washrooms and showers. It was a nice enough spot, but the terrain there is phenomenal. All the hoodoos and the river. You can literally walk around for hours on some trails that are well marked and just go in amongst the terrain. It's gorgeous. As you saw, if you watched our video, we did a paddle to the other side of the river, which I think would be great to explore. And it's all down in southern Alberta, which is actually quite a nice area. It's funny, when you're driving along, all you have is fields and crops, and then suddenly this park appears. It's like a Grand Canyon showing up suddenly. It's not nearly as deep, but it's just this little canyon that you would never notice otherwise. And so it's gorgeous. We really enjoyed the southern Alberta park.
So number 3 on our list is, again, Pacific Rim National Park. If you watched our last year's top places we visited, Pacific Rim was also on our list. And we did go back there last year, and it was, as usual, a great trip. The one campground that's part of the national park is the Green Point Campground, and it's actually located about equidistance between the towns of Tofino and Ucluelet. And both towns are great. Tofino is a little bit more touristy, I think. Ucluelet, I think, is more local, but both have very great atmosphere and all the services you need, grocery stores, nice restaurants, and things like that. And the campground itself is very nice. All the sites are actually within the trees, but they do have new and clean shower buildings with nice flush toilets as well. From the campground, there is a bit of a walk, maybe about 15 minutes down the trail to reach the beach, but once you're on the beach, of course, it's amazing. Miles and miles of beach that you can walk for hours and hours as long as you want. There's also some great wildlife to see, and sometimes you can see in the summertime, or actually even in the wintertime, there's a lot of surfers that are out there enjoying in the waves.
Are they part of the wildlife?
Yeah, I guess you could call some of them, yes. And a few of the sites at the campground do have ocean views, but because this park is really popular, and I think the reservations opened already for 2020, maybe a couple of days ago, and they book up very fast. So the few sites that do have great ocean views are always taken. If you do go to the park, we would suggest that you book in advance. It's highly unlikely, especially on busy long weekends in the summer, that you'll be able to even get a site if you come in at the last minute without a reservation. So definitely recommend getting reservations in advance.
Actually, all the sites are powered as well. We're dry camping 99% of the time wherever we are, but Greenpoint does have all powered sites, so if that's important to you, that's a nice thing. So number 2 on our list, Mount Robson Park, which is in British Columbia. And the whole trip is somewhat dominated by the whole mountain itself, which is about 13,000 feet and covered in snow. Now there's lots of nice and easy hikes. We actually did a nice trip, about 20 kilometers return, and that was from the campsite where we were at. It would be shorter if you went from the parking lot up to Kinney Lake, and then we went up to Kinney Flats. What we'd really like to do is go up to Berg Lake. That's about, I think, a 24-kilometer trip. So it's a backpacking trip. Go up to Berg Lake, spend the night, and then come back. We really enjoyed the campground itself that we stayed at. There's 2 nice campgrounds, Robson Meadows, which is where we were, and then Robson River. Both are nice. There's showers. They're really well spaced out. There's a nice short hike from Robson Meadows that goes along the upper portion of the Fraser River, so it's just a great spot. So we really enjoyed camping at Mount Robson Park. We really liked Robson Meadows, and you're only about a kilometer walk to the tourist area where there's a cafe, which has breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a little souvenir shop, and some nice views of the mountains. It's really nice. We look forward to going back there again sometime soon. Okay, so first on our list, our most favorite trip for our year for 2019, Yoho National Park. And it was funny when Mickey and I were having a conversation about this. I think there was no question for either of us that this was the most spectacular part of our trip. The drive in is spectacular. I think we made a comment in one of the videos that every time we got around the corner, it just kept getting nicer. And I think we used the word amazing a number of times. It's close to the little town of Field, so you've got some services in Field. I mean, the population of Field is 169, so the services are limited, but there is a couple of restaurants, a coffee shop. Parks has a building there. But generally, we enjoyed Yoho primarily because of the hikes.
In terms of the campgrounds at Yoho National Park, there are a couple of front country campgrounds. One is Monarch, and that's the one where we stayed. It's very close to the highway. And Kicking Horse Campground, which is a little bit larger, and it has more services. It has a shower building and flush toilets, and that's a little bit further up the Yoho Valley Road from Monarch and from the highway, so it's a little bit quieter up there. Kicking Horse seems to be the more popular campground, so definitely need reservations in advance for that particular campground. There is actually one other front country campground at Yoho National Park, which we did not go to. It's called Hoodoo Creek, but it's actually about 20 minutes drive southwest of Field, heading towards the town of Golden. And there is tent camping facilities available as well. There's one at Takakau Falls, which we actually passed by. And the other one is at Lake O'Hara. Now, Lake O'Hara is supposed to be a very popular spot. The only access to Lake O'Hara is on a bus operated by Parks Canada. I think because of the popularity, they actually limit the number of people that can visit. And so you do have to book a bus well in advance, and I believe sometime in January they will start the reservation process. There is a draw, and so you might not necessarily get a spot on the bus, but if you're lucky you will. It's supposed to be one of the most beautiful areas in the world, and there's a lot of nice hiking trails and backcountry camping available at Lake O'Hara.
The main thing for us for Yoho was the hikes. And if you watch our video, you know we went up Emerald Basin Trail, which came into this wonderful little sort of natural amphitheater with waterfalls. That was spectacular. And again, I'd go back there in a minute. Probably our favorite trip for the whole year, actually, was the hike up along this ice-line trail via Celeste Lake. And we could have actually gone a little farther on that trail, too, and gone up by, is it Yoho Lake?
Yes.
And we didn't because we wanted to shave a bit of time that day, but it was just incredible. Beautiful through the trees, waterfalls, and up into the alpine, subalpine, right at the toe of glaciers. Just an amazing area, and we really enjoyed that. And it was just a pleasant trip overall. And it wasn't too busy until actually near the end. We ran into a large group of hikers, but other than that, it wasn't too busy at all. Very few people. So we really enjoyed Yoho. It was certainly something we'd like to go back again. Could replicate the exact same hikes we did, or maybe add a little bit of extra distance on one or two just to enjoy it even more. So it was great.
So thanks very much for watching our video. Hope you enjoyed recapping with us the top 5 places that we visited in 2019.
Yeah, let us know if you have any recommendations or any comments about what you thought were our top 5 trips, or even if some of your best trips. Is really helpful for us to, or we really enjoy reading your comments. So wherever you've traveled, if you could share that, gives us an idea for us to plan for in 2020. We'll probably branch out a little farther afield this year. Not sure what that will look like. Travels down to the US this time, likely maybe farther north.
Yeah, so basically we'll be going further up north and further down south from where we live.
Weather dependent. I only like to travel where the weather's nice. And we're also talking about some trips where we may combine with the backpacking trip. So, for example, Mount Robson, we could go there, park in the parking lot, do an overnight stay at Berg Lake, come back, and then probably take the van and go to the campground and stay a day or two there. So just kind of splitting our trips a bit more, backpacking and camping in the van. And that's something we both look forward to.
Yeah, and we do have a little bit more freedom in that regard because we don't have to worry about leaving Precious in the van now.
Yeah.
So hope you enjoyed our video, and as usual, if you enjoy our videos, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
See you next time.